You want to start an RLCraft server, and honestly, I get it. It is actually the most downloaded mod pack of all time on CurseForge, and it's a really, really good mod pack. Because of that, it's great to play it with your friends. But I do want to stress right up front, it is one of the most difficult modded servers to set up out of the most popular mod packs. The reason for that is it's in 1.12. Back in basically old school Minecraft, if you will, in comparison to the newer versions, where a lot of the stuff has been figured out when it comes to starting servers in comparison to RLCraft. On top of that, the server that we're starting in this video is difficult to start. It's not going to be up 24/7, it's actually only up while your computer is actively running the server. On top of that, you're going to need a really good computer. RLCraft is super resource intensive, it needs a good CPU, needs a lot of RAM, and because of that, you want to have a really good computer. You'll also need a good internet connection because this is going to be using your own internet connection. That also means anyone who joins the server can DDoS you, basically meaning they can hit your internet offline, and they can also figure out where you live down to your latitude and longitude coordinates. So with that being said, what if you don't want to have to worry about any of that? Well, that's where SimpleGameHosting comes in, and you can check out SimpleGameHosting at the first link in the description down below, the breakdown.xyz/simple, to start your very own RLCraft server in just a few clicks. I'm actually going to show you how quick and easy it is to make a server at SimpleGameHosting. Just come here, and then once you're here, all you've got to do is click Get Started and purchase your server. I would recommend 6 GB or 8 GB, depending on the amount of players that you're going to have on your RLCraft server. So click Get Started there, and then on the checkout page here, literally just make sure Minecraft Java is selected and select the billing cycle you want. That's all you've got to do. Click Continue, and then click Continue again, or click Checkout, excuse me, to then go to the checkout process and purchase your server. Once you've done that, you will get an account created email. Once you do, go ahead and click Set Up Your Account, and you will be taken to where you can create a password and access your server. This is your server account here, and what you want to do is click Manage Server. Then, to install RLCraft, typically all you would have to do is click on Mod Packs and install it. But I've already got one on this server, so I'm gonna have to uninstall that real quick. There we go, Mod Pack on install. Now RLCraft is right here, but you can also search for it, RLCraft, and it will come up as well. Click the versions drop down here and select the most recent. The one down here at the bottom is the most recent, and click Install. Click Yes to confirm, and after a few seconds, your RLCraft server will be installed. All you have to do is click one button and join the server. That's it from this point forward, assuming you've already got RLCraft downloaded locally, which we do. So there we go, the server is now installed. We can go to the console tab here and start the server. We can also go ahead and copy the IP address by just clicking here to copy it. Now from there, all we've got to do is go ahead and launch RLCraft using CurseForge. I've already got it downloaded and all of that, and if you don't, there is a guide in the description on how to download RLCraft. Sadly, anyone who joins the server has to have RLCraft downloaded locally through CurseForge. It's super easy, and it's just a limitation of modded Minecraft, unfortunately. Nevertheless, once RLCraft is open, all you have to do to join the server is click on multiplayer and then go ahead and add the server. We will go ahead and name it our SimpleGameHosting.com server because, well, that's what it is. And go ahead and paste in the IP address that you got from the website in the server address here. Click Done, and there we go. The server is now joinable. Just double click on it to join. That easy to start an RLCraft server. We did it in under 5 minutes. You can see how long the rest of this video is to get an RLCraft server up and running. As you can see, things are now loading in and looking great. So, yeah, that's how you can start an RLCraft server with SimpleGameHosting, but what if you don't want to do that? Well, let's go ahead and jump right on in to how to start a RLCraft server yourself. First things first is you need to come here and download RLCraft locally using CurseForge. We have already done that, and we have a complete guide, like I said, in the description down below. It's going to be the second link, I believe, down below, but generally, I'm going to forget where links are in the description, but they are all down there. There's that many for downloading RLCraft and getting a server up and running with it. But as you can see here, we have RLCraft already downloaded. You'll need to play this later on in order to join the server. It's a requirement of modded Minecraft, unfortunately. From there, we want to go ahead and actually get Java. You might be like, I already have Java. You probably don't have this version. RLCraft is for Minecraft 1.12.2, meaning it requires Java 8. It's not a big deal when you're just playing it, but when you're starting a server with it, you need to make sure you've got the right version. So let's go ahead and download Java 8 here by clicking Download Java. This will go ahead and start downloading right away, and this is Java's official website, so it's safe to download. Now, before we move on to the next step, I'm actually going to get Java installed. So let's go ahead and minimize our browser here, and we want to find Java. It's most likely going to be in your downloads folder right here. As you can see, there it is. I'm going to drag it to my desktop, but you don't have to do that. Go ahead and double click on Java. You may get a user account control sort of pop up where you have to click yes. Perfectly normal if that's the case. And then once we're here, what we want to do is click on install, and Java is going to go ahead and install itself, Java 8 specifically. But it's not that easy. We're not done yet because you probably have a newer version of Java. We're going to need to remove that as well. Keep in mind, when you do that, you will be running into issues with modern Minecraft mods. Mods for version 1.17 or higher. So if that's the case, keep in mind those mods may break and you may need to re-download Java 17 to use modern mods again in the future. But we want to go ahead and open up apps and features here. Once we do that, we will need to go ahead and find Java in here. So search for Java. As you can see, there are two versions. We want to click on and uninstall any version that is not Java 8. So in our case, that's Java 21, but with Java 17, could be Java 18. Whatever version it is, you want to go ahead and uninstall any version that's not Java 8, and we have now done that. You might get a pop-up user account control where you need to confirm you're uninstalling that version of Java, but that's okay. So now we've got Java, we can delete this from our desktop. Now let's move on to the next step, which is downloading Forge. Forge is required because RLCraft is a Forge server, so we need to download Forge in order for this to work. So let's go ahead and once you're here, link in the description, scroll down and click the Download Forge button. That will take you to Forge's official download page, where on the left-hand side, we need to come all the way down to 1.12 and select 1.12.2. Once you see MC 1.12.2 there, you want to come under the Download Latest here and click on the Installer button. When you do, it'll take you off to Add Focus, where stop! Don't click anything on this page whatsoever. Just wait about 10 seconds and then a red skip button will appear in the top right. That's the only thing that you ever want to click on this page, is the red skip button in the top right. When you do, Forge will begin downloading. You may need to keep or save the file, but that's 100% safe to do as long as Forge is in the title, which as we can see it is. Once we have Forge downloaded, we need to download the RLCraft server files. So in the description down below, there's a link to here, which is the official RLCraft page on CurseForge. And once you're here, click on Files, and then you want to find the most recent version, which is right here for us, right up here at the top. Go ahead and click on it. And then you want to scroll down to the very, very bottom. And you'll see a ton of different options here, specifically options for the server pack, and then you also have the hardcore server setup. I believe generally it's the same, but what we want to make sure we're doing here is downloading the RLCraft server pack there. So we want to get this RLCraft server pack, hover over it, click the three dots, and click Download File on the RLCraft server pack. Wait a few seconds, and then once it's done, it will start downloading. Again, you may need to keep or save it. It's 100% safe to do that. Now we want to go ahead and once it is finished, it is still downloading, but we want to go ahead and minimize our browser. Then we want to move both of these to our desktop. That's going to be the RLCraft server files and Forge. Both of them are currently in my downloads folder, so let's move those to the desktop. Now once these are on the desktop, what we're going to want to do is extract this RLCraft server. So right click, extract all, and then click extract. That was pretty fast. Let's do it again. Right click, extract all, and then click extract. And then we're going to get a folder over here. It's going to take a second. It's got over 4,000 files in it, but this will be the folder that houses our RLCraft server once it's set up. So let's go ahead and let this extract. And once it's done, we have this folder. We can delete the zip folder we downloaded. We just need this folder here. Now what we want to do is go ahead and open up the RLCraft folder, and you'll have all of this in here. This is just confirming it's all in here. Once you've done that, we want to go ahead and close out of the RLCraft server there, and we want to open up this. Now, I would love to say you can double click on it, but the best thing you can do is right click on this, click on Open With, click Java, and click OK. You should have this, but if you do have any issues, you may need to run the jar fix, and that is linked in the description down below. It goes over basically how to fix Java and make it to where those jar files link to Java, but generally, you should be good to just right click on this, click on Open With, select Java, and click OK. That'll then open the mod system installer for Forge here, where what you want to do is click on Install Client. This red box will appear. Click the three dots within the red box. Then navigate to your desktop and select that RLCraft server pack folder right here. Click on open. The red box is still there, but it's the RLCraft server pack that's in that red box and then this text here. Then click OK. It's now going to install Forge server files for RLCraft and for 1.12.2, which is what we need. As you can see, successfully downloaded. Click OK and it will close out of that, and we can delete the Forge installer from our desktop. Now let's go ahead and open up this RLPack server folder here that we have. And what we want to do in here is go ahead and create a new text document. So right click, create a new text document, and you can just leave it titled New Text Document. Now before we open this, go up here to View and make sure that File Name Extensions is checked. If it's not, you won't have these dot at the end, right? You won't have the file types. We want to make sure File Name Extensions is turned on because it makes things a lot easier later on here. Nevertheless, once we're here, we want to go ahead and open up that new text document, and in here we want to copy and paste from the description of this video one of these codes, depending on how much RAM you want, 4 gigabytes or 6 gigabytes of RAM. Generally, I would recommend at least 6 gigabytes for RLCraft, but you can try to start the server and then always upgrade it later. There is a more in-depth guide, by the way, in the description on adding more RAM to your server. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and grab the 4 gigabyte variant here, and once we've got that, we can come back over here and paste it into our text document. Once it's there, we want to go ahead and save it. But don't just save it, you want to save as. So File, Save As, and then you want to name this file run.bat. File name run.bat. Then the save type as needs to be all files. All of this is extremely important. Make sure that the code in the description is exactly as it is in the description with no extra spacing around it or anything. And then you want to make the file name run.bat, and then you want to save it as all files exactly like this. Then click Save, and finally, we have this run.bat file here. Now at this point, there's one more thing we need to do to be able to launch and play RLCraft, and that is rename this Forge 1.12.2 file here. Right click on it and rename it to simply be forge.jar. So you make sure file name extensions are on, because otherwise that .jar part won't be there. But you want to make sure that forge.jar is what this is. Then finally, double click on that run.bat file we created. Now your RLCraft server is starting, but it won't work. And as you can see, it's already failed for me. There's a little jump cut there because I got ahead of myself. But basically, this is what will happen. It will fail on the first start. That's because we need to agree to the Minecraft EULA.txt file that just generated. Open that up and change EULA equals false to EULA equals true, TRUE, exactly like that, assuming you agree to the Minecraft EULA, which we do. Then click File, Save, and now finally, double click on that run.bat file, and the server will start. But you can't, but only you can join it. Your friends cannot join it. You can join it at this point, but your friends cannot. And that's because you need to port forward to allow your friends to join. But I think it's important to test it, because if you can't play on the server while it's running on your computer, there's no reason to invite your friends, because it's just going to cause more lag and more issues on your server and on your computer specifically. Now we do have this pop-up here. Go ahead and make sure public and private networks are checked here and click Allow Access. Now, if for whatever reason later on your friends can't join, it might be because you didn't select that correctly or have selected it incorrectly in the past. Luckily, in the description down below, there is a guide on how to allow people, and specifically Java, through your Windows Defender firewall. This is covered, and that's what we just did there, was allow people through it. But if for whatever reason you didn't do that, it happens all the time, no worries. This guide shows you how to fix it. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and join our server. In order to do that, we'll need to go ahead and launch up RLCraft with CurseForge. We've already got it installed, and again, if you don't, there's a guide on getting RLCraft in the description down below. Anyone who joins the server will need to have RLCraft downloaded through CurseForge. I'll go ahead and meet you on the Minecraft main menu once Minecraft is open with RLCraft. So here we are, RLCraft is open, and what we want to do is go ahead and click on multiplayer here. Then we can, from that point, click on add server. We're going to name this our local connection, because only you can use this connection to join. And then the server address is going to be localhost, all one word, exactly like that. Localhost, exactly like this, is the server address. Click done, and now we have a new server here, local connection. Go ahead and double click on it and it will join on into the server. As you can see, it's happening on the left hand side. Now, if once you get in here, you're consistently seeing that the server can't keep up on the left hand side, it might mean that you need to add more RAM. As you can see, I'm actually seeing it myself there. It may mean that you need to add more RAM to the server. It could also mean that your computer sadly just isn't good enough to run a server and this mod pack at the same time. It's not uncommon for that to be the case. It is very, very resource intensive. Seeing it just once like this, not a big deal, but if you see it over and over again, that's an indication that your hardware is probably not good enough. Anyway, the server is started, we are joined. How do we let our friends join this though? Well, as I mentioned, we're going to need to port forward. So let's go ahead and disconnect here, and we're going to close out of RLCraft. And I should mention at this point that you don't need to port forward on a SimpleGameHosting server. So if you do want to get a SimpleGameHosting server, the link is in the description. You don't have to port forward. You don't have to do any of the stuff we've already done. All you've got to do is set it up on the server and play RLCraft like this. And setting it up on the server, we did that at the beginning of the video as well. So anyway, just wanted to mention that one last time here. But now let's go ahead and port forward. So we're going to quit RLCraft and we're going to stop the server over here. To properly do that, type stop right like so. In this console, just type stop and hit enter. And it's going to shut the server down properly and then press any key to continue. Now what we want to do is actually go ahead and get our IPv4 address and default gateway. In order to do that, we want to open up command prompt. So open up the start menu and type command prompt and it will open like this. From here, what you want to do is type ipconfig, ipconfig exactly like that, and hit enter. That's going to give us a few numbers here. What we want is the IPv4 address and the default gateway. So I'm going to open up Notepad really fast, and we're going to go ahead and enter in those into Notepad and just make note of them here. So our IPv4 address for me is 192.168.1.3. Yours is probably different. That's why we're getting it this way instead of me just telling you the numbers. The default gateway is what we need next, and that is going to be down here. But if you have two default gateways, if on the first line right next to default gateway, it's numbers and letters, look at the line below that because there's probably one that's just numbers under it, and that's what we want. So it'll be blank over on the left-hand side and then just be numbers over here. That's what we want. And in my case, though, it's 192.168.1.1, but yours could be the same or completely different. Now, from there, what we want to do is close out a command prompt, and we want to open up our browser. And in our browser, what we want to do is enter in the default gateway right up here at the top, where you would normally enter in the breakdown.xyz, youtube.com, simplegamehosting.com. Just enter in your default gateway up there at the top, which is for me is 192.168.1.1. Hit enter, and it pops up this, which is our basically login box for our router. Yours probably looks completely different than mine, and that's okay. I'm going to be giving you the basics of every router here basically and what you could look for in your router, but you'll need to log into your router first. And in the description, there's this, a complete guide on how to find your router's password. This is different than your Wi-Fi password, and it goes through 5 different methods of finding it. Usually people find it by method 4 and can log into their router. Once you've found your router password and username, go ahead and log in. I'm going to do that now. So here we are logged into my router. Your router looks most likely completely different. Now in the description down below, we of course have this, which is how to port forward on any router. And it goes through how to do it on the most popular routers that are out there today. Just literally watch this video. And even if your specific router is not mentioned in there, it can still be helpful because a lot of routers software is the same. And if you, for example, have a TELUS router and AT&T has a very similar router, for example, it makes sense and you can kind of figure out the different locations, even if your specific router is not in that video. I'm also going to be giving you some of the terms and things that you might want to click on in your router in order to port forward. Now for me, it's going to be in advanced and then advanced again, and then single port forwarding, port forwarding / port triggering. Single port forwarding is another name for it that it might be in your router. So single port forwarding, it could be NAT forwarding, NAT forwarding. It could be apps and gaming. It could be in your security tab. It could be in an advanced tab, an administration tab, or an advanced and then advanced again like it was for me. It could be in a networking or network tab. It could be in a app forwarding, APP forwarding, or NAT forwarding, NAT forwarding. It could be in an apps and NAT forwarding. I've seen it in tons of different places, but overall you're looking for port forwarding or port forwarding / port triggering. For me, it is port forwarding / port triggering. Then once I find port forwarding, I have to click add a custom service. You may need to add a service, add a new port forward, add a new single port forward, or you might just have a big list of empty boxes. If that's the case, use the first one, and then once we're done, you'll save and it'll be good to go. So for me, I have service name here. You might have service ID, and this is just what is this port forward for. For us, it is an RLCraft server, but you can enter in anything here. You just want to make sure you know what it's for. Within the protocol, you want to be TCP/UDP, UDP/TCP, or both. You want to make sure that both of these are selected. If for whatever reason you can't select both, and it might literally be the word both, do this twice. Once for TCP and once for UDP. And then after that, we have port. Anything involving the word port, P-O-R-T, external port, internal port, first port, second port, public port, private port, doesn't matter what it is. Anything involving the word port, you want to enter in 25565. The number 25565, so external port, 25565. Internal port, 25565. As long as it has the word port, as soon as you see the word port, don't even think about it. 25565, that's what you enter in. Now, last but not least, we have an internal or local IP address. This could also be a drop-down box with all of the devices on your network. Here, we want to enter in our IPv4 address, which for me was 192.168.1.3. Enter in whatever yours is, and you might have to select it from the device drop-down list, which I actually have right here as well, and I can select mine right here if I want it as well. From there, go ahead and apply and save your port forward. At least that's what 99% of people need to do, but some of you will have a public or external IP needed for your port forward. And luckily, everybody watching this video needs their external public IP because that is what your friends are going to use to join. So in the description down below, we have a link to here, which is what's your IP address. It just takes your IP address and gives it back to you. And what you want to do is go ahead and click to copy this here. Now for me, you can only see 4.3, but it also double stresses how you only want to give this out to people you trust because this is the information people can get. The city, your state, your latitude and longitude coordinates, all from your public IP. Once you've clicked to copy this, what we want to do is go back to our router if you needed it and paste it in there. Otherwise, if you didn't, go ahead and minimize your browser. What we then want to do is open up our RLCraft server directory here and start our server using that run.bat file. While that's starting up, I'm also going to go ahead and get CurseForge open and get RLCraft open via CurseForge because everybody who joins the server, you and your friends or anyone else, needs to be playing RLCraft locally using CurseForge in addition to you having the server set up with RLCraft, which we have now done. It's complete at this point. So I'm going to go ahead, open RLCraft, and I'll meet you on the RLCraft main menu, and I will also meet you when the server is started. All right, so RLCraft is open, and we can go ahead and get to multiplayer. We don't want to use either of these. We don't want to use our SimpleGameHosting server, obviously. We also don't want to use the local connection here because we want to add a server and use our public IP. I'm going to name it just that, the server name public IP, and then we're going to paste in the public IP here. Once we've done that, you'll be able to see 4.3. That's just showing that it is the same one that we saw on the website and all that, but the rest of it's blocked out because you don't want to give this to everyone on the internet. Now go ahead and click done here, and there we go. We have the public IP and the local connection. Now, I know I can join via the public IP without an issue. You might be able to, but if you can't, that's okay because you can join via the local connection that we used earlier. The only people that have to join via the public IP are your friends. Your friends have to join your server via the public IP. So keep that in mind. If you can't join via it, no big deal. But if your friends can't, that is when it is a big deal. But at this point, your RLCraft server is up and running. What if your friends can't join via your public IP address, though? You've given it to them and it's just not working. They cannot join your server. Well, that might be because you need to allow them through your Windows Defender firewall. And specifically, you need to allow Java through your Windows Defender firewall. This covers everything you need to know to get that up and running and to allow Java through Windows Defender. It could also be an antivirus or a firewall on your router blocking the port forward. It's also worth double checking the port forward. In the description, we also have a guide on how to add more RAM to your server and how to fix a broken Minecraft server if you do have issues, and this does include modded servers and all of that. So check that out if you do have issues with your server. But at this point, you now know how to make an RLCraft server. Obviously, this is a super in-depth video. We're being attacked by a dragon or something. I don't know what it is. But nevertheless, you now know how to make an RLCraft server. This is by far one of the most difficult servers to make, and you've done it. So congratulations. If you do have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. We are more than happy to help you out. We'll see you in the next one. I am out. Peace.